You and I have been, pretty critical of him from time to time. Yeah. This was a different Donald Trump tonight. I think he gets it. Anderson.
Good morning and welcome back to AM Joy. We are currently awaiting an update from New York Governor Andrew Cuomo, and we will bring that to you live when it happens. But first, the media is still quick to praise Donald Trump when he exhibits even a hint of normal behavior, when the reality is Trump's handling of the pandemic has been anything but normal. He brought back the daily press briefings, which, frankly, the press had been hungry for. But instead of characters like Sean Spicer or Sarah Huckabee Sanders, it's Trump himself who's serving as his own communications director. And true to his reality show form, he's turned the daily briefings into a TV show. He even brags about the ratings. And during this daily reality show, he uses reporters as antagonists, or what NYU media expert Jay Rosen calls hate objects, to delight his conservative base, berating journalists for asking perfectly reasonable questions and doling out false hope to his captive television audience, and even peddling misinformation that often contradicts the actual experts standing, frankly, too close to him for social distancing purposes. And in response, the media has fallen right back on this tick of seemingly needing to normalize Trump's behavior. And we're seeing this even when journalists and media organizations are simultaneously calling out his dishonesty. Take this headline from the New York Times this week, stating, quote, Trump suggests lack of testing is no longer a problem. Governors disagree. Well, it's not exactly a he said, she said. It's not a he said, she said at all. What Trump suggests is simply not true. For verification, let's go to the Times' own reporting, which states that the United States continues to lag behind other countries in testing per capita. That's their own reporting. And the Times is hardly alone in giving Trump a huge amount of runway when he does anything that comes across as even slightly less outrageous than normal. Almost all of the media, including our network, have covered presidents the same way for decades. And in general, the majority of the media is still looking at the presidency in a conventional way. The president says X, so that's news, and this other official says Y, so they disagree. The problem is Donald Trump may be a lot of things, but conventional is not one of them. Joining me now is Gabe Sherman, special correspondent at Vanity Fair and an MSNBC contributor. Tara Dowdell, president at Tara Dowdell Group. Eric Bollert, author and editor at Press Run Media. Carol Simpson, former anchor of ABC Weekend World News Tonight. And David Korn of Mother Jones, who is the author of Russian Roulette. Thank you all for being here this morning. And Gabe, I'm going to go to you first, because Donald Trump, one thing that he counts on and has been able to count on is that the media is still going to treat him like a normal president. And so if he exhibits even anything close to sort of normal president-looking behavior, he will elicit the praise he so desires. And I don't understand why that's not changing. From your reportorial point of view, do you understand why it's not changing?
Well, Joy, this whole segment is so important because this is, Donald Trump loves to talk about the media as the, quote, enemy of the people. But in fact, in many ways, the daily press is his best friend because they have surrounded him in this cocoon of normalcy that still validates him as having, being a legitimate, acting as if, this kind of behavior is legitimate. And the bigger problem is that this entire system depends on reporters, treating Donald Trump with a level of deference that he does not himself deserve. And, I'm not a daily reporter. I write for Vanity Fair. I get longer time to work on my stories. So I'm in a position where, I'm not reliant on the White House for daily access. But if these reporters really called out Donald Trump for being as mentally unstable as he is, they might be banished from the press room. Then they won't be able to file their stories. Then their editors get mad at him. I mean, there's an economic incentive for these reporters to, bend over backwards to treat Donald Trump fairly, you quote fairly in air quotes, when in fact they're just propping him up.
Yeah, Carol Simpson, you blew our minds last time you were on this show, talking about the fact that what Donald Trump has been able to accomplish with these daily briefings is, number one, to get himself back a TV show. This is a reality show. It's not rallies. Right. It's a TV show. And it's a hit TV show, according to him. He loves to talk about the ratings, but that he's also supplanting people's traffic and weather together. He's supplanting the local news so that people aren't seeing the local deaths, which would be in the A block on their local newscast. They're not seeing the news of the things he's doing wrong. They're seeing little snippets of him maybe, or they're just watching him, right? And so he comes across to them as more normal. There was a lot of freak out, I think, among liberals about the polls, and where he looked like he was gaining in the polls as a result of this game he was playing. But it isn't working anymore. That's already fizzled out. He's already back underwater in terms of whether he's doing enough or not doing enough, because it's hard to hide if people in your community are dying. If the bus driver dies in your community, you still know about it, even if Trump doesn't let you see it on the news. Can you advise people who are currently in the White House press corps and media covering him, how might they treat him differently?
I think about this all the time and wondering what I would do if I were in the press room. I think they have been more than deferential to the president, and I don't know why. Because I would have balked a long time ago and had a boycott of the press of these briefings. They're not briefings. If I hear the man say one more time that he kept the Chinese from coming in and that was the most wonderful thing in the world, he says it at every single one of his briefings. Then if he says one more time, we're sending 3 million masks and 20,000 ventilators. I mean, that's all he says is talk about numbers. He doesn't talk about the fear of the people. He doesn't talk about what the plan is for what happens when this is over. Are we ready for a second wave? They're useless. I watched last night for 2 hours. It was almost 2 hours. And he was asking the press, do you have some more questions? Do you want some more questions? I'll stay as long as you want me to. It's just so self-indulgent and so unhelpful to the public.
So I have to pause you right there. I hope all of you can stick with us because I want to get everybody's